In 2006, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, the FAO, published an important report which first brought the link between livestock farming and climate change to light. I'm now going to speak to Dr. Henning Steinfeld, the chief author of this report. Dr. Steinfeld, you have calculated that livestock farming is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions. That's quite a lot.
In fact, 18% is quite a lot. It has to do with the fact that in this assessment we took into account all the changes in land use that are related to livestock, the production of animals in terms of methane, the manure management in terms of also methane and nitrous oxides, and the various steps of the feed production, livestock production, processing, transport, and so on that have to do with livestock and feed commodities. And this is how you get to 18%.
Okay. How did you respond yourself when you were confronted with these figures?
I knew it was high. I knew also the impact on water and biodiversity was going to be very significant. I didn't expect it to be quite as high, but this is the figure we came up with.
And what do you think? What was the most shocking, amazing conclusion from your report?
Well, I think one of the issues is that this huge environmental impact that livestock have is not well understood by the public. It is not even well understood by the farmers themselves. So there is actually a strong case for regulating the livestock sector much more than is currently the case.
Thank you. Films like An Inconvenient Truth have made a very important contribution to the debate on global warming. Yet the only cow that I saw on screen symbolized little else picture-perfect youth in Tennessee. In the whole Inconvenient Truth, not a single word was said about livestock farming or the impact of this polluting industry. Dr. Steinfeld, how is it possible that livestock doesn't play a role in the discussion about global warming?
Well, I think that the fact is that in the climate change discussion, much of the focus is on carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide emissions, if you look at the livestock sector, only make up about 1/3 of the total greenhouse gas emissions. Nitrous oxides and methane don't come very strongly into the debate, but they are much more potent in terms of greenhouse gases than carbon dioxide, and they need to be factored in.
But Al Gore didn't say one single word about the livestock industry in his documentary. What do you think? Didn't you miss the aspect as well?
It is certainly missing. The entire aspect of food is missing. And I think everyone needs to know that food and agriculture contributes to climate change and has environmental impact. And one needs to make choices if one wants to be environmentally friendly that are in line with the environmental impact of producing various types of food.
Well, I think he should have said something about it. Have you ever tried to convince him?
Well, I'm not someone who knows Al Gore personally. I think that at my level, publishing results and talking at conferences and talking to the media, such as in this case, is all I can do.
Well, thank you.
In a lifetime, the average European will eat 7 sheep, 24 rabbits, 43 turkeys, 789 fish, a third of a horse, 5 cows, 42 pigs, and 900 chickens.
So the average European devours 1,800 animals in a lifetime. If every person on our planet were to do the same, we would need 142 billion animals every year. In truth, the agricultural sector worldwide has gone off the rails. The cycle has become completely disrupted because we have started to produce meat as cheaply and intensively as possible. Forests in South America are disappearing because Europe demands huge amounts of animal feed. The gigantic factory farming industry in the United States, the huge level of meat consumption in the Western world, all at the expense of the climate, biodiversity, drinking water, and food for the very poorest people on Earth. If we don't change our eating habits, we will be consuming 450 billion kilos of meat by 2050. What does that mean for our planet? Dr. Steinfeld, what does it mean for our planet? What's your scenario?
Well, there is a pessimistic scenario, and that is that nothing is done about it, and we continue to produce animals in the way we do right now. And in that case, the environmental impact is going to deteriorate beyond measure. And there is a need to urgently address this issue and to deal with waste, to deal with greenhouse gas emissions, to deal with biodiversity losses. And measures are available, technology options are available. What is lacking is the political willingness to act on these and to steer the livestock sector into a more sustainable way.
But suppose we eat no meat for, let's say, 1 day a week. Will that have any positive impact on the environment? What do you think?
Well, the impact of livestock production is probably disproportionately high compared to other sectors. So reducing consumption is likely to have a positive impact on the environment.
Okay, thank you. The FAO has made some very interesting calculations. Between 1950 and the year 2000, the world population grew from 2.6 billion to 6 billion people. Yet meat production increased fivefold, from 45 to 233 billion kilos of meat each year. It's predicted that there will be 9 billion people living on our planet by the year 2050. And what will happen with the meat production? The meat production will double to 450 billion kilos of meat by the year 2050. And of course, the greenhouse gas emissions will double too. But even politicians, who you would expect to know more, haven't got the faintest clue. This became crystal clear during a recent debate on deforestation in the Dutch parliament.
De ontbossing, meneer Blom, zoals u weet, wordt voor een heel groot deel ook veroorzaakt door onze intensieve veehouderij.
Ja, ik vind het altijd verbazingwekkend hoe de Partij van de Dieren in staat is om een onderwerp per interruptie te introduceren wat absoluut niet gaat over de tekst die ik hiervoor uitsprak. U moet mij niet kwalijk nemen dat ik geen idee heb wat de relatie is tussen intensieve veehouderij en de relatie tot ontbossing. Ik weet niet waar. Het spijt me, maar dan moet ik u helaas het antwoord op schuldig blijven. Nee, dat zie ik me waarschijnlijk niet, maar ik weet het gewoon niet.
Well, in fact, it's all so simple. Less meat, fewer animals, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, reduced water use, and less deforestation. There are some rays of hope, tiny rays of hope. I think that is just because people simply don't know. I'm sure that if they knew, they'd want to change their eating habits.